And so I first met the Khanum, the mother of the Shah. She was a singularly most curious woman. Her beauty was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. But as beautiful as she was, so was she wicked. She was a vile, sinful woman. She sat at the center of the court of Persia and spouted her poison like a great black spider. The whole court went in fear of her. Even the Shah. He needed to learn to cut the apron strings, I think. She had a very astute brain, the Khanum. And with this brain she unpicked the darkest recesses of my own mind. Such a dangerous combination. A person like me and a woman like that. It did not take her long to realize that my potential lay far beyond mere magic tricks. She unlocked something in me, something very dark and sinister. It was almost like Pandora opening the box. I turned to smoking hashish to block out the pain that she was inflicting on my mind. And as I floated in a fog of opiates, I plunged new depths of hatred. Looking back now, it was not my finest hour, I have to say. No, it was not. The Khanum asked me to build a torture chamber for her, which I did. A hexagonal room made of mirrors with the only thing in the room, an iron tree in the corner, and of course, the Punjab lasso. My torture chamber worked by means that I will not disclose to you here. Other than suffice to say, the walls of the room would heat up to a point where the temperature was so unbearable that the subject in the room took the only choice they could to escape the chamber. The Punjab lasso was suspended from the iron tree. The Khanum was delighted with my invention, and I cannot deny that even to this day, although it fills me with horror that I created such a thing, I am still quite proud of it. My torture chamber. I have lost count of the hundreds of people Arcanum had me put to death. I was a high executioner. I would be locked in a courtyard, armed with nothing but the Punjab lasso, and they would send a condemned man in, armed with a big sword and a shield. It always ended the same way. I would let them hack and slash until they were exhausted, and then, with a flick of my wrist, the lasso would ensnare them, and with a twist, I would snap their necks like a twig. Hundreds of people must have died. At the same time, the Shah became aware of my abilities as an architect, and he set me about building him a new palace at Mazandaran. A summer palace, a palace of wonders. And so I set about building the greatest palace the world has ever seen, up until that point at least. It took quite a long time to build, and during the times when I was not working, I would relax at Nadir's home, where I enjoyed spending time with my friend and with his son Reza, who was becoming gradually worse. Poor boy. He was such a lovely boy. Polite, kind, intelligent. What a waste. What a waste. I remember I made Reza an automaton. A musician that only played if one applauded it. After all musicians have big egos, and every musician likes applause. He would clap, and the automaton would play for him. But his condition grew worse and worse. His life became a living torture. And as Reza suffered, so too did Nadir. As the boy neared his last days, I knew that Nadir wanted to put him from his misery, but lacked the courage to do so. So I did it for him. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And yet, I knew it was for the right reasons. Poor Reza. He had no life. He couldn't walk. He couldn't see. He couldn't hear. He was in pain constantly. And so it was I put him out of his misery and laid him to rest. So sad. I think that act bound Nadir and I together in a way that nothing else could have done. Our friendship was forged in that moment. And as I said before, it has lasted a lifetime, some 30 or 40 years. As the palace at Mazandaran drew to its completion, I became aware that the Shah and the Khanum were growing weary of my insolence. I remember one instant. The Khanum told me that if I did not show her the correct respect, she would cut off my manhood and place it in a small jar. To which I replied, "Are you sure a small jar will be big enough?" Yes, they grew weary of my insolence. Nadir heard rumor that the Shah planned to have my eyes put out so that I could not build another palace for anyone else. He helped me flee Persia in the night. I fled to Constantinople. I later learned that Nadir had returned with a body dressed in my clothes, wearing a mask that was identified as me. I don't know how, but the Shah discovered later that I had escaped, and Nadir was flung in prison, where he languished for 10 years of his life for me. 10 years of his life for me. No one has ever done anything like that for me before. No one. I fled to Constantinople, and from there I returned to Europe. I traveled at first to Belgium, where I continued to build. I set up a small business as an architect. Obviously, of course, I never met with any of the clients. I managed to solicit a servant of kinds, Jules. He did all the toing and froing with the customers while I stayed hidden from view. The novelty seemed to amuse the bourgeois, and the business flourished. It wasn't long after that I decided to travel back to Beaucheville to lay to rest some oak.